It's me again, Brad. I'm going to show today how to breed peppers. This particular pepper I have right here, this is the name that I've given it is just cap-fish. What it actually is, it's a cross between Tabasco and Habanero crossed with a jalapeno. So it's half jalapeno, the other half is Tabasco Habanero. I've actually had this in some of my videos before. This is what the fruit looks like. It looks pretty much just like a little miniature jalapeno, but it's still very, very hot. What I'm actually going to cross this with today is a habanero. Now I don't have the plant with me, but I have some pollen that I brought. And what I do when I want to collect pollen, I just pick a flower off. But now, if you can see different stages of flowers. See, like this one here, this one is not ready. This one here is ready. Once it swells, it looks like a little hot air balloon. It turns really white. This one's white, but it's not hardly big enough. When they turn about like that, roughly, different varieties will be different. See, there's another one that's ready. When they turn about like that, that means they're ready to use. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pick just a few flowers off to get some pollen, just to show you how I collect the pollen. But I'm going to use, like I say, different pollen to put on here. Okay. Alright, like I say, I'll take a pair of tweezers. I like the kind with these slanted ends to it, and I start at the top of the flower, and I take a petal. Now lots of times since I've had them in my hand, the petals are starting to come apart a little bit, but if not, you just poke through it a little bit and pull down to the base of the flower and pinch and pull that off. Now what I made, if they get stuck to this, I just blow it off like that. But generally a pepper will have either 5 or 6 petals. This particular one has 5. Okay. This little thing sticking up in the middle, this is the pistil. That's the female part, but I really don't need that for this because I'm just getting the pollen. These little things around it, these are called anthers. That's what will release the pollen, but it will have to dry before I can actually use it. But I'll take and I pick off one at a time. Just like that. And I leave them in a dish. Let me show you one more example. Go down to the bottom. And this is more difficult when I'm doing it on the plant. That's why I like to pick some off. Alright. Just go down to the base, pinch and pull off like that. And as you can see, that's all there is. And what I always do is I label what pepper that I got the pollen from, so I know. Then all I do is I take it inside and I put it up on a shelf somewhere where it can dry for about 24 hours. So the next day, or probably the next morning, usually it's ready to use. Alright, let's go back out here and I'll show you. This is the habanero that I'm fixing to put on it. Alright, well, like I say, it's more difficult on the plant because you don't want to break the stem there. And what I do is I poke through it, pull it down, just like I did before. I have to be a lot more careful this time, because this time I really don't want to break the pistil off, because in this case I need it. These anthers here is the part that I don't need. Now you might say, well, that's kind of a waste, and in a way I guess it is. If you want to hold the cup and try to collect the anthers into it, you can do that. It's just a lot more difficult. And the pepper produces enough flowers that for me it's just easier to use some for pollen and some for the seed parent. Okay, that's what it looks like when you get through. When you apply the pollen, you want to make sure you don't break that either. Alright. And what I do is I take, if you look down inside here, after 24 to 48 hours, you can shake it like that, tap the bottom. You see that powder down in the bottom? that's pollen. And what I do is you can take a Q-tip, you can take a small paintbrush, you can take the flower and just dip it down in there. What I do is I use my finger, make sure it's clean. I don't want any pollen from any other previous peppers on it. And I just dip like that. You see the pollen on my finger? And what I do is I will take the pistol and just barely tap it, rub it against it like that. And if you look real close, which you probably can't see from that camera, you can actually see the pollen on the end of it. Okay? Now what I do now is I wrap it in aluminum foil. And that's to keep any other pollen from getting on it. Just a second, I'll get some foil and I'll be right back. Alright, well, I label it with a permanent marker what the type of pepper is, and sometimes I'll even put the date. This is July 16th. What I do is I take it, I fold it in half like that, and I wrap it very carefully around the flower like that. Hold it. This takes practice because you don't want it, like I say, you still don't want to break that pistil off. It's very, very fragile. Crimp it around like that, crimp the top, and crimp the base a little bit, and that's all there is to it. And about a week, it will. You can go back and check it, or even in a few days, maybe, at least a week. You can go back and check it, and if it's producing a pepper, that's good. You can put some sort of label around that pepper. I usually take the foil, and I will bend it and just tie it around the base of the pepper itself, so I'll know, and that'll still have the label on it what the pollen parent was. And so then when I go to pick it, you know, I just make sure I keep each one separated so that I know their lineage. And once they turn red or orange, once they're fully ripened, depending on the pepper, some turn yellow, some turn red, some turn orange. In this case, I think this one turns red. So once it turns completely, then I take it and I get the peppers out and I let them dry for a week. And then I can actually freeze them, or I could store them in the refrigerator, or possibly even room temperature. And that's really all there is to it.